Welcome to our channel Arc Zone. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that resonates with millions across the globe, the poverty in Africa. Despite its rich resources and vibrant cultures, why does this continent struggle with such significant economic challenges? Let's uncover the layers of this complex issue together. The colonial legacy. To truly understand Africa's economic challenges today, we must first look back in time. The colonial era left an indelible mark, where foreign powers exploited resources and established borders that did not reflect ethnic and cultural realities. This not only disrupted traditional governance structures, but also sowed the seeds for political instability long after independence. Countries left with fragmented systems struggled to build cohesive national identities, ultimately affecting their path to development. So, how does this colonial legacy manifest in today's economy? Let's hear what Richard Dowden, from Director of Royal African Society, and we will get back.
It's the politics. To misquote Bill Clinton, it's the politics, stupid. And that goes back to the colonial project, the way Africa's societies, between 6,000 and 10,000 political units that existed pre-colonial times, were carved up by outsiders, simply drawing lines on maps and between Germany, France, Britain, saying, right, that bit's your bit, that's bit, we'll put the line there, often dividing whole societies. And these states have got, Nigeria, for example, 400 languages, 400 separate languages and counting. And that's what we're talking about. Maybe as many or more centers of old political power. So it's the overlay of these new states on old societies. And states that had, those societies had no part in their creation at all. They were just created and then handed over to them suddenly in the 1950s and 60s. You're independent now, off you go. And to think you can create a nation state like that was always madness. So it is the evolution of those societies that I think it'll take a lot of time. It'll take generations for those nation states to create the sort of feeling of citizenship that Americans have or British people have. And so I just don't think, I think that's the core of the failure of development. Lots of countries going along nicely, suddenly huge political upheaval, maybe even civil war, all destroyed. Everybody flees, the money shifts out. And I think that's one.
Parallel with the first one, the second one is also highlighted by Richard Dowden, from Director of Royal African Society, which is political instability, which is caused by many reasons. Some of those are described already by him. Political instability remains a major roadblock. From coups to civil wars, many African nations have faced turmoil situations that hinders growth. As governments shift and leaders come and go, the lack of consistent policies disrupts economic planning and progress. When investors see instability, they often steer clear. The lack of investment creates a vicious cycle of underdevelopment. But what if we could break this cycle? It would have been easy to break the cycle if the political situation is isolated with the economical challenge. All the political situation is very tied with the economic challenge. And the main cause of the political turmoil is the economics challenge, which is a third factor. Many African countries are heavily reliant on agriculture, but this sector is vulnerable to climate change and market fluctuations. In fact, over 60% of the population depends on rain-fed agriculture. Inadequate infrastructure further stifles potential. A lack of roads, energy, and internet connectivity restricts corporate growth and innovation. How can we expect progress without a solid foundation? However, one of the bottlenecks to economic growth is the unwarranted commitment of the political elite to an economic sector with no borders. Let's hear Richard's opinion on this one.
And I think the other one, which is closely linked to it, is that Africa's politics have fallen into the hands of elites, as the Nigerians would call them. These are a class of people who are pure business politicians, and business and politics go together in Africa. You cannot stand as a poor man. I came across a wonderful example the other day from Kenya. where a man who cycled around on a bicycle was trying to get himself elected, and the people just laughed at him and they say, "You've only got a bicycle. What can you do for us? We need a big man with a big car with money. That's the politician we need to." So there's this mentality, which I think has allowed a very small group of people to take over those countries politically, but also economically, and that's why you have something like, I think the World Bank says, between 60 and 70% of Africa's capital shifted out of the continent. It's in banks in Europe and Asia and maybe America as well. But these people just do what the colonialists did, which was suck the wealth out and shift it overseas. And until that changes, that is, until there's a new generation or even a revolution that actually takes power back to African people, I think those problems, that lack of development, will continue.
And now we'll move on to the fourth factor, corruption. Many wealthy Africans want to invest in Africa because it's their own country and it will fulfill their instinctual ambitions and mental happiness. However, due to the widespread corruption, not just African rich people, but also foreign investors are being forced out of the system. Corruption is a major hurdle. Every year, billions of dollars are siphoned off, preventing funds from being used to create schools, hospitals, and roads. The transparency of governance has a direct impact on economic progress. How can countries combat corruption effectively?
The answer has been, well, why should we invest in Africa as outsiders if rich Africans don't invest in Africa? And that's been the case up until now. But I think it's changing. I think there is African capital flowing back into Africa, not just from remittances from African diasporas living overseas, 20 billion a year until recently. Not sure which way it's going to go now. But also some of the big men who are very, very rich men indeed are beginning to say, actually, maybe I can invest in Nigeria and do better than I can by investing in New York or in Switzerland or somewhere like that.
The narrative of poverty in Africa is not set in stone. There are countless stories of resilience, innovation, and community-driven progress across the continent. By addressing these challenges and working collaboratively, there's hope for a brighter future. The world will not wait for us except we strive to have a solution to every problem. With an adequate education and training to use, by establishing an institution that will create an accountability and transparent governmental work for every citizen in the continent. To reach to the solution, the first step is knowing the problem. And as African, we have to strive to address those issues and uplift our content. Join us on this journey. Like and subscribe to our channel as we work together to uncover the problem and try to bring the solution.